Now let's welcome our keynote speaker, Megan Thorp, who is the Director of Marketing at WinnowPro. The topic is titled, Future of Digital Retailing, Differentiate the Buying Experience. Let's give her a round of applause.
All right, thank you so much. Can you guys hear me okay? I'm going to be a little bit engaging with you guys, so there's going to be a lot of up and down hand motion, so I hope you're comfortable with that. Just to get us started, and we're going to need the presentation as soon as that starts. Perfect. All right, so as announced, I am the Director of Marketing at WinnowPro. We're a digital marketing agency for auto dealerships. So I want to share some of the insights we have on how we work with our dealerships, but first I want to understand where everybody's preferences are in the room. So where are my sales and marketing teams? Can I get a hands up if you represent your dealership's sales and marketing teams? No one? Okay. How about management and the financial pieces within the auto dealership? We got a one hand. So who else do I have here with me? Can I get a few shout outs from what you guys represent?
Industry consulting.
Okay. Tom, I see you. We'll be on a panel later on in the back. Manufacturing, okay. Consulting, a lot of consultants, okay. DMS, yeah. Okay, cool. All right. So it looks like we're kind of spread out a little bit. I know everyone is quiet. It's okay. I'll get you warmed up. I'll call on you sporadically as well. So if you're uncomfortable, you might flee. Now I'll give you that out now. So I know everyone's here because we want to have a conversation. We want to do things a little bit better, a little bit different. And we know the last 16 months has been crazy for everybody. And it's not just the automotive industry. So you probably are here today, not just to be in Vegas. I'm sure that's just a plus. But you also have the opportunity to talk and do a think share with everybody else in the room. So if you're a competitor with somebody else, try to forget that. Let's spend the next 20 minutes, 15 minutes probably a presentation, and the rest Q&A for us to kind of get to know one another a little bit better and share what has worked for us. All right? You good with that? Okay, so what have we seen? Well, in the past, we've seen that online sales have increased 30%, and those are your online digital sales in the last a year, right? Which is called a year. But what's interesting is we've also seen customer satisfaction rates have also increased over that time period. So why is there a correlation between happier customers and online sales? Well, what we're seeing is that the customer experience, it gives them time to not necessarily go into the dealerships and have these conversations. And we know that most American shoppers are not prepared to negotiate, which is usually the issue for when you get the people in the store. But what we're also seeing is their opportunity to compare, to start the process online. 54% of auto shoppers are actually more willing to spend more money if it means that they have a more personalized experience. And we're also seeing 74% of auto shoppers are more willing to come into the dealership if it means that the customer experience is improved. So dealers, I know that we have been spending a lot of time focused on transitioning through this digital reform over the last few years, but what the customers are saying is, give me a better experience. And so I want to walk us through how we can give better experiences so we can increase profitability. So online searches. We know that 90% of any time someone's going to go purchase a vehicle, it starts online. So I have outlined a few of our favorite phrases that we've seen over the last 6 months or so. So what's the best SUV in 2021? Why is it SUV? Well, a lot of people actually want a vehicle that does a little bit more for them. It's not just a sedan, it's not just a truck, it's a little bit of everything. We're also seeing the safest vehicles. So people want safety. Best cars for road trips and off-roading. I think we could probably figure out what group that goes to. But the point of all of these is that we have to better understand who our customers are and get into their psyche so that we can better position the dealerships in order to be visible where they're shopping online. So something that's really been interesting to me, and this has actually stuck with me, I read this probably in the last quarter or two. 5 years ago, consumers were willing to look at 2 to 3 different brands during the vehicle buying experience, right? So your probably closest competitors, you guys were sharing the same customer base. But what's happening now is customers are actually looking at 8 different brands when they're going to make a vehicle purchasing decision. That's actually really good news for dealers. Yes, it increases competition, but it also gives you an opportunity to focus on capturing a new market share and then also focus on brand loyalty. We all know the Subaru customers. They have that little niche. I see some smiles in the audience. You know exactly what I'm talking about. It's an opportunity to build on that for every single brand. Create a cult. Cult is a form of culture, but create your own brand culture so that your customers keep coming back to you over and over. They want to be part of that community. So who here has seen an increase in their online sales over the last year? By a show of hands. Who here wants to see an increase in their online sales? By a show of hands. All right, yeah, there we go. Everyone's still awake, thank you. So what I want to run through are just a few different techniques that dealers, consultants who are working with dealers, and everyone in between can start thinking about as they process ways for them to go through the digital reform. Because it's not going to happen overnight, and we know that there are many different decision makers that impact our ability to bring things into our business, right? So let's start with the first. We have the shopping transparency. Happy customers, more profitability for the dealerships and those businesses. So when customers are online, what are they doing? They're looking at price, they're comparing features, they're seeing if there's finance options, and then they're also seeing if there's other happy customers. So being able to showcase all of this, and this is actually on one landing page on a dealer's website. So what I hope you can take away from is that there's an opportunity to have real-time integrations. There's an opportunity to take customers through an entire experience to touch base on all of the things that are important to them. So whether it's financing options or it's just making sure that the people in their neighborhood also had a good experience. One point to note is that even though there's all this opportunity for online sales, a lot of these people still have to go into the dealership, right? So make sure that whatever you're doing online, let's just call it your digital front door, is the same experience that they're having when they actually come to your store. So one really good example of this is the chatbot. I'm sure a lot of people have chatbots on their website. Can I get a show of hands who has a, oh. I'm getting good. Thanks, Jesse. Can I get a show of hands who uses chatbots on their websites? Yeah, there we go. So it is available. It's really easy to do. A lot of people have it as a man. I don't think it was me this time. No? Okay, great. Anyway, I already know what's on the screen, so I can just talk through it. All right, so everybody has their chatbots. I'm going to put this down, and then you let me know when we're good to go. Okay, so everyone has their chatbots, and what's really interesting about the chatbot is that it's not just you have somebody on the back end and we're chatting with customers. There's this marketing automation that can happen that technology, you're supposed to be able to delegate things to technology so you could focus on doing other things. It's not supposed to replace our jobs. So having these chatbots set in place that has a conversation flow with the customer based on their preferences. You all know your customers. So how can you get into the psyche of knowing when they walk into the dealership, what questions are they asking? Okay, well, based on those questions, they probably have pretty similar questions when they go online. So making sure you're setting up this conversation, but also making sure you have an opt-out feature as well. Who's been online, had a chat with the service chatbot, and you're like pressing 100 buttons because you're like, this is so annoying, you have not addressed my question at all, right? It's all about that customer experience. When's the last time you picked up a telephone to call customer support somewhere for those places that still have customer support over the phone, and you're frantically dialing 0 because you can't handle going through the sequence of what they have put you through, right? So it's all about that customer experience, and that will be critical for you to have on your chatbots as well. You good back there? Cool. All right, let me get over to virtual reality. trying to increase a little bit just to get the buy-in. Who uses virtual reality on their websites? No one? Who wants to use virtual reality on their websites? Yeah. So it's really cool. So this is another way to capture more attention from customers who are online with you. So what I'm showing you here is from the Genesis website. And I've already selected a model. And basically what you can do, if you've not seen this already, you do not need to wear any weird headgear that comes with the virtual reality thing. I'm sure you guys are like familiar with that. So what you can do is just go on your desktop. You can select the different features that you're interested in on the car. So it gives the customer this touch, look, and feel. And by the time that they're done with this, they have already made up their decision. Right? They start online. 90% of us start online. They're asking these questions on the search engines. And then they're also going through and they're able to customize it. So by the time they talk to the dealership, they already know exactly what they want. So if they haven't purchased online, they're going to be at the 1 yard line and you're going to be able to get the touchdown with them at your store. So really, really cool stuff that we're seeing in terms of technology. So where are auto shoppers visiting in 2021? Well, we just talked about the dealers, OEM, and their websites, right? So we need to focus there on your digital hygiene. This is applicable to any business. If you have a website, digital hygiene is critical. So what's digital hygiene? Your digital hygiene is going to be talking about your user experience. It's going to be making sure that there is a sequential flow on the site that makes sense, that things are easy to find. It also means that you have your chatbots, you have your features, you make it easy for customers to look at your products and also understand your pricing. If you don't have your pricing on your website, your competitors probably do. And from a customer's perspective, how frustrating is that just to want to be able to see what you might be potentially paying, and you might go somewhere else just because they're able to showcase that price, and it just makes it one step closer to getting it done. Other pieces of the website that are really important, again, the touch and feel, but then we also want to focus on the content. And that's going to flow into our web forums and things as such. But thinking about search engines, 90% of customers start online. I cannot express that enough. So having search engine visibility, your SEO, is huge. You could get into a whole different segment just talking about SEO. But at a high level, making sure you have enough content to educate your website visitors is critical. And also making sure that it's staggered in a way that you can be found. So SEO is a huge, huge piece. I'm sure most of you have heard of Google. Can I get a round of hands if you've heard of Google? All right, so there we go. Everyone's awake. Most of you. So on Google accounts for over 85% of all search engine views, and that's including your Bings, your Yahoos, your every other sort of customer protection that's coming out here. So making sure you show up on search engines, you could do that organically or you could do that with paid. The traditional dealerships, you can't stop it. People are going to be going out on a Saturday looking to go into the dealership. It is just our human nature, and it's a habitual thing. I went with my partner a few weeks ago. We were looking at Subarus. We ended up being at the dealership. But the reason why we found a dealership is because we started online, right? So making sure you start online, making sure you have solid customer reviews, and making sure that it's going to feel like a positive experience when you walk into that dealership. I really want to touch base on the web forums piece because I think this is often overlooked for a lot of businesses, regardless of your business. Educate your clients, educate your customers, find a way to have content out there, understand their psyche. Frequently asked questions are one of the biggest drivers. If you're not strong at writing content, there are hundreds of different people out there who could write the content for you, but the point is to have that visibility. So in the auto shopping experience, you have to understand what are they looking for while they're in that search phase, when they're initially looking for cars. Is it finding vehicles that meet your family's needs? And maybe you have, maybe you're one car. I'm from San Francisco. It's very expensive to live there, and especially in the city, you're going to have a lot of the families have one cars. They don't have multiple cars. So you have to make sure that whatever your vehicle is extremely flexible. So don't forget, frequently asked questions, and if you need help with that, Google does a really nice job. Think about Googling yourself, your business. Look down about one scroll, and you'll see other related questions. Start with those. Those are questions related to that search, and if that search is related to your business, there you go. There's a good starting point for some content for your website. Social media. All right. Is anyone advertising their business on social media, or do they have a business profile on social media? Okay, we got a few, Facebook. Is everyone on Facebook for their business? Yeah? No? No? Okay. For those who experiment and put themselves and have profiles out there on these social media channels for their business, don't be afraid to experiment. Don't get stagnant and just say, well, we're on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and we post a few times a week, blah, blah, blah. The whole reason why you have the profile is to figure out where your customers are. And when customers are looking at now 8 different brands when they're buying a car, there's probably a really good opportunity that your customer base has now expanded, and you should probably be looking other places for potential buyers. So I'm sure everyone might have heard of TikTok by now. They're kind of making their way. They're definitely geared to a younger generation, but those are also the people who are leasing more cars or considering not buying cars or kind of have a different way of looking at things. We gotta be able to also sell to them as well, right? And we also have to figure out a way of getting into their psyche, because getting into their psyche creates more sales and more profitability for the dealership, and who really wants to fight that? So one suggestion for TikTok, and I don't think it might be necessary for everybody, but there is an opportunity for influencer marketing. And when you have influencer marketing, education. Creating that content, creating that information, educating people on things that are important to them so they can create brand loyalty. And all of that will impact your bottom line. And it's a slow and steady over time. And I know, I think Russ talked about it yesterday. He talked about the pendulum swinging. And the pendulum is swung in one direction right now, right? Auto sales is hot. Everybody wants one. I think last week was the first week that we saw actually a decrease in the amount of, increasing sales every week. What we're eventually going to see is we now need to reposition, because sales aren't just necessarily coming to us, right? So we got to figure out different strategies, and no better time than now just to regroup and think about it. Does anyone have any questions on location, social media, anything that has to do with where you're getting customers from, and maybe even if you wanted to share an example of some success that you've seen on your social media? Mm-hmm.
Is the two major that people are looking for ads. And I like one thing that you say, we have to educate our people and customers. We have to know our customers. And I am with you in that. And that's why, one of the reasons I'm here is because that's what I do, educate our customers. And I think one of the things that we should, we all should know, even though you're from the dealer or from an auto repair shop, is that we have to, the main thing is educated.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of customers coming to our shop complaining about dealers.
Huh.
Okay? And especially, they're complaining about dealers saying that they're not honest in what they're saying. And it's a lot of questions that we get. And I think, it's good that I'm here now and meeting you, because I think we should all get together and find out what the problem is. Because we are, I own a small shop,
Sure.
but I have a lot of customers who are complaining about dealers.
Okay.
So if we get the problem, we might get the solution too.
I agree. I absolutely agree. And so when you say that you're educating your customers and you're getting them in and you're kind of helping them walk through, especially the dissatisfied customers that are having poor experiences maybe somewhere else, what has been like the #1 strategy that you've used in terms of educating them that has proven the most success for your business? And how has that maybe changed over the last year? Like what kind of questions are they asking?
Yeah, well, in my case, what we were doing it was like, the workshops in person. Since after the pandemic, we have stopped doing that. And one thing that you mentioned is that we have started working in TikTok because that's now, I don't know, the most famous, I would say. And it is, and people wanted to know, wanted to be educated, they wanted to know, like, and especially with dealers, they wanted they wanted to know what is like. Thank you.
They want to hear you in the back.
Well, like I was mentioning, customers complains about dealers, and the thing about dealers is not. I don't know. I will say it in overall, is that they say that they get live when they are purchasing a car, like in a sense that, for example, it just happened like 2 or 3 weeks ago. That this lady purchased a car in a dealer, and she had purchased insurance, something like that, besides the car. And when she came to the shop, it was like 2 days after she purchased the car. She came to the shop to see if we can fix a problem that it wasn't her car. So we got in contact with the dealer, and basically we ended up telling the dealer, listen, you better have a communication with this lady, because whatever we want to be doing is actually more expensive of the car. So what is here is like we're talking about honesty. Like they don't do what they need to do, and especially used cars, I will say it. I don't know if it's your case, but in the used cars, they don't do their part. Like they don't tell the customers. They just wanted to sell the cars, and that's it. They don't tell the customers what the problem is with the car, and let the customers choose if they wanted to fix by themselves or they wanted to choose something else. So I think we should get, educated and be honest in what we do. And if you get a car 0 miles, it's fine. But if you get a used car, I mean, we have to make our customers happy in that way.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. I really, really appreciate it. So I think that's a wonderful point, and I know all dealerships are going to be different. I don't for any reason think that all dealerships are bad, and I'm sure you also agree as well. But the point is that there's an educational piece that has to come from us, and that goes back to the shopping transparency. That goes back to just transparency in general. So if you can find these forums, if you could share this information with your customers, you're creating a long-term relationship. And I know from my perspective, every time I've bought, leased any sort of thing with a vehicle, if I had a good experience with the person I'm with, you better believe that I'm calling them or I'm probably referring them to someone else I had. And I think that it just kind of plays into this funnel of referrals are everything, right? It's way easier to sell your existing customers than it is to resell a new customer. So thank you so much for sharing that. Does anyone else want to add anything to the social media platforms or anything that has to do with the educational forums that you might have found successful in the previous year or so? Good. Great. All right, so as we wrap up a few things, just talking about creating a seamless customer experience. So we talk about your digital front door, we talk about your website online, and then we also talk about offline. So that's your actual store, it's your shop, it's your physical brick and mortar location. Customers want to make sure that if they're having a positive experience online, whether they're chatting with any sort of communication devices that you have on your website, like a chatbot, or if they are chatting with your sales rep who greets them at the door, right? We have to make sure that that is seamless. We have to make sure that if they have a 10 out of 10 experience on your website and they walk into your store and can't find anyone to talk to, or they feel pressured about a decision, or they're not informed, we need to fix that. Because fixing that actually drives 25% increase in digital retail sales. And that's a fact. and that's incredible. And there's potential in all of these actions. Just a lot of these small steps coming together will help us prepare for when that pendulum swings back and creating better experiences for our customers. Before I kind of hand it over to the Q&A, is there any other stories that anyone would like to share in terms of really positive customer experience stories that they've had in the last year during COVID, knowing that it's a difficult time and maybe it's like a thought-sharing opportunity? Don't be shy. Okay. All right. See you guys. All right, perfect. So you guys can take out your cell phones, get your camera out, and if you point it at that QR code, I'd love to connect with you. Because after this event is over and we all go home, it doesn't end, right? The innovation and the opportunity to help each other continues. So please connect with me on LinkedIn. I also put my cell phone number in there. Feel free to text me. I would love to not only get to know and share some of the insights that I have with our automotive customers and kind of those success stories that we're having, but I also want to see what works for you, right? Because that's why we're here, is kind of the yin and the yang. So do we have any questions from the audience? And then I should be able to let you guys go. Good? 11:11, so it's a good look. Good? Oh, Tom.
So Megan, going back to the chatbot,
Yeah.
I think it's a great opportunity. I just think about this $10, maybe it was a $5 toy that I bought my kids 10 years ago. It was called 20 Questions. And it's amazing, this little egg-shaped algorithm, I can't beat it. I can think of something and it will triangulate down to exactly what I was thinking about. I've never been able to beat it in the 15 years that I've played with my kids' toy. Why is it that if the 20 questions algorithm exists, that nobody ever implements a chatbot that really gets to what you want? It always feels like a commercial, and I'm just as frustrated with chatbots as I am with the zeroing out. I like the zeroing out better because I get to a human sooner, because I find invariably that chatbots are just really easy to misimplement. What's your suggestion to people about that issue?
I mean, that's a great question. I think a lot of times the issue with the chatbot is that we're so focused on the purchasing part of the buyer's journey, and we're not focused, again, on the educational part. So I think we have to really understand why someone's interacting with us on the chatbot. And the really cool thing about chatbots is that you can actually customize them to different pages on your site. So someone who's probably looking at our About Us or our leadership is probably interested in something different than the people on the pricing page. So if you have the capabilities of integrating a chatbot that you can customize per page, you'll get a little bit closer. But I also think it's really important for us to not, again, as marketers, as business professionals, because I didn't see any hands up for marketers, so I don't want to silo anybody, but as business professionals, we have to not be afraid to continuously ask questions. Why is this working? Maybe you have an all-time great conversion rate. Maybe you could get better. So I think it's the opportunity for us to keep asking questions. And again, as 8 brands expand, and maybe customers start asking more brands, and we'll see that with the electric vehicles coming out, right? Maybe it's people are going to consider all brands that have electric vehicles, not just their favorite brands. So thank you so much for asking that question, Tom. I think it really all kind of comes down to understanding your customers, understanding their needs, and just being able to satisfy them. So do we have any other questions? Okay, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you being here.